The Effect of Brexit on Immigration, Part 5. You could argue the liberalisation of the system was all part of a wider global free trade agenda, which had fueled a contingent of the Leave camp, Gove, Hannon, Rees-Mogg and people like that. Perhaps the plan for such figures was to use Brexit in order to tap cheaper, less rights-demanding labour from outside of Europe. However, there were a lot of campaigners for Brexit, especially on the left, who did not agree with that. You can't really use the agenda of one group of people to discredit a whole constitutional decision. The Remainer will say this group was the one best poised to take power and influence the post-Brexit situation, and thus a vote for Brexit would inevitably lead to this. There is an element of truth to that, but it was not a certainty and didn't need to come to pass. Indeed, the true free traders have been disappointed by the process, as we have stayed too aligned to the EU. It's also true that the balance of immigration has been dramatically skewed towards that of non-EU origin. The following numbers are from the live Migration Watch tracker using ONS and House of Commons library statistics. Other figures are available. There is a maddening inconsistency, deliberately making research hard, but this seems the most reliable. For 2023 and 24, I have used the Migration Observatory figures, citing ONS estimates. The figures are all of net immigration. They give net immigration from outside the EU and from inside the EU. I have added these together and then worked out a percentage. In some stats, migration from the EU includes the extended EEA area, including Switzerland and Norway. I assume these do too, but I don't know. We withdrew from the EU on January the 31st, 2020, then negotiated a deal that came into effect on January the 1st, 2021, fully applying on May the 1st. From the referendum until that point, unlimited EU migration had applied. Many seized their chance to get in and apply for settled status before the doors closed and visas would be required. The figures dropped off from the 77% seen in 2015 through to 41% in 2020. Since the deal kicked in, we've had negative numbers of EU migration, meaning, as these figures have it, that between 2021 and June 2024, 100% of the net migrants were from outside the bloc. That is not a good thing, by the way, because Europeans are more culturally compatible with Britain than most non-Europeans. Although we should note that non-Europeans can get citizenship in EU countries, then come here. Again, we didn't have to let this happen. Why couldn't we set balanced quotas for countries of origin? If we had to have migration, why couldn't we prioritize European or Anglosphere countries? We have the ability to do what we want, within international law at least. All it takes is the political will. Unfortunately, chaotic liberalism struck again, and it shows no sign of going away. Ramonas love to point with glee towards the non-EU immigration levels to prove their point, which is quite revealing because it suggests their own prejudices disguised behind liberal sensibilities. However, a look at the figures show that even while we were in the EU, non-EU migration was usually in the majority, over 50%. Free movement began in 1993, the same year the EU was created out of the common market. It took until 2012 for EU immigration to be in the majority, peaking at 81% the next year. The numbers received a significant boost in 2004 from 6% to 25%, because 10 countries, including Poland, joined the EU. There was, of course, much desire to move to the UK from former Eastern Bloc countries because the standards of living were higher and comparatively higher wages could be earned. Free movement extended to Romania and Bulgaria in 2014, following their accession in 2007. helping to keep the EU numbers high. Indeed, since mass immigration began in 1948, the majority of our immigration has been non-European. It has mainly been from the West Indies, former African colonies like Nigeria, including Ugandan Asians, India and Pakistan. Before we joined the EEC and before it developed into the EU, there was a lot of migrant labour from Australia and New Zealand, especially bar staff and supply teachers.